Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our nice podcast, or I don't know, webinar, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. Welcome back. I am Matteo Collina, and I'm joined today by Liran Tal from Snyk. We'll introduce ourselves in a minute. Luca is usually joining as well, but apparently there's a file alarm in his building, so we'll see when he can join. Okay, it might come up or not. It will arrive with a few minutes of delay. Okay, so who I am, I'm Matteo Collina, Platformatic co-founder and CTO, part of the Node.js technical steering committee, as well as authors of many modules. As they say, you can find me in the black hole that is your Node modules folder multiple times. And I don't know, who are you, Liran? And welcome, Liran here. Oh, Luca, you see the file alarm. You didn't burn the file
Hey
alarm,
guys.
Luca.
No, but it's a strange setup today because they're running fire alarm test exactly at this time, and my usual camera setup decided to not work today. So that's why you see me with headphones, and I look like if I come out of a different dimension, is because I need to work on my setup this weekend. But I will be back on the usual next week. Don't worry.
Amazing. Okay, Luca is the CEO of Platformatic, and hello, hi everyone.
Hey guys.
Liran, would you like to introduce
a good title? You could have a talk like "My Node.js is on fire," all about your.
I did that.
You did that.
Yeah, I did that.
You also did a stream to the future thing, right?
Yeah, I did also
remember that one as well.
It was fun. Amazing. Liran, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'm Liran. I do a bunch of security stuff, a few things around JavaScript and Node, being able to try and teach developers how to do secure coding. Had a really good pleasure to just work with Matteo on some of this stuff around Node security working group. Back in the day, this is like, I think 2019 or so, and some other stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can find me in your Node modules, but definitely if you run some security scanner and you find some vulnerabilities, I just might be there.
I think I found you in my command line because you wrote an open source Docker tool for the CLI, right?
True.
So you are on my
Nice.
laptop. I carry with you every day. No, thanks, guys. And sorry for coming late, by the way. My Node was not on fire, not even my house, but talking about security, that was a security check from Johnson Control that they do twice a year here in Canada, because they're scared that the house not made of real concrete might go on fire. That's something you can expect. It's usually a similar feeling that probably you have when you build a Node application, you put them in production, and you know that something might go wrong. And so that's the similar feeling. That's why you run security check. That's why you run performance test, right? Because they're not made of concrete.
We are here today to talk about environment variables and config files, probably one of the most loved themes by Liran and myself. And I don't know about you, Luca.
That's true.
I think is one of the most, in my experience, I have never been yet in a place where a team, multiple teams, an organization didn't struggle with something as simple as environment variables and secrets, right? And when we talk about secrets, guys, we don't talk about the whispers between people. We talk about your application secrets, your API key, and those kind of things, because we all know that the real secrets, they're not secrets, but the application secret should be secret. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I can tell you my opinion, then I would love Liran to kind of like share maybe some point of view, and then we can deep dive into helping our viewers. Because the reason why we do this webinar, podcast, call it as you want, I mean, as Matteo and I jam, is because we hope that out of this banter, people can learn something, can fix something. Because generally speaking, we love to jam about anything, but there are practical stuff that we call it are a given, but that they should be, level up for everyone.
They are not. Yeah,
No.
it's literally every single of our every single project that I worked on for the last 10 years plus in Node.js, it was managing the environment variables and secrets in an unsafe way, which is a freaking disaster. If you intend, like some of them were really a disaster, some of them were less of a disaster. There's a different level of disaster that we can start talking about the worst possible things that you can find in a code base, okay? And then we can go down from there, okay? I think that would be a good plan. I don't know. Let's
Let's
see.
do it. Let's what I would like actually to touch base for everyone today is let's go through some best practices, some stories, stories that speak louder than instruction. And then I would love to demystify something as simple as how do you manage secrets and environment variables for multiple environments? For example, in Kubernetes, let's throw like something there. And then do and don'ts. So they're very practical. I would love people that are listening to us. I hope they're not listening while they're driving in the car, but they can take down notes, right? But don't worry. We have actually transcripts and recording of that. So when you arrive safely at your destination, I would love to have the Morgan Freeman voice. When you safely arrive at your destination, you can actually take notes. So let's start with some. I will be the last because clearly, as the CEO, I'm the last on the chain. Maybe I love to honor the guest first. So Liran, you are our guest today. Thanks for being here once again. Tell us something about these secrets and environment variables. You work for Snyk. Everyone knows Snyk, right? We don't have to introduce it, or else Google it.
If you're not using them, please rethink your security strategies.
Liran promised for a discount code. That's what I heard while I was running. But let's talk about like a little bit your experience working in security and so on with environment variable and secrets. Probably the most sensitive data that you see every day.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it would be interesting to talk about it from the experience of like what are the best practices. I think that's an idea of like, we can talk about all the bad stuff that can happen, and I think some of these that we will call out, like this is like, table stakes, do not do this. I think what people will end up that they are actually using that, like that when that's the worst case scenario, people are just like following that blindly.
Yes.
But even before that, like before we go to like, I think butchering a lot of like holy cows here, I think the problem really is it's twofold. I think that is where Matteo and me are kind of jamming on this on like the same wavelength, which is one, environment variables need to be like managed properly, like unrelated to secrets, just like as a config entity that you have to like, test, right? Work with like a maintainable code and testable code and all of those things. That is like one thing, one aspect of it. And the other one that kind of like, I think where I'm also kind of really well kind of worried about, concerned about is indeed the secrets part. So secrets getting leaked. I'll give some examples. I've prepared a few from like some of my write-ups, but I'll just read you some tweets. I'll just read out some tweets that I have. So someone tweeted, this is October 3, 2023. Always include .yaml files in your recon. So this is someone I'm following on social media, which like they're like a bug bounty hunter, and they show like database driver, PDO, MySQL, database host, blah, blah, blah. One example. Let me show you another one. This is another one. This is, oh my God, we had a dude who managed to leak all environment variables in prod because he did this. That was a fun shit show. I'm sorry for the language. I'm just reading the tweet. And the screenshot shows a vit config with a defined parameter that has, process.env. So basically they're like, pushing all of that environment variables out. This is an SSR. This is part of where I'm writing about these blurry lines between what's a front end and a back end. So all of these meta frameworks like Next.js and Nuxt and stuff, devs don't really understand the actual like borders of like what goes to the server, what goes to the client. And so people can really screw it up like this. Another example, someone, what is this? This is accidentally leaked their credentials in the Next.js application and suffered the crypto wallet compromise. This is from 2022. So this is all over the place. I'll give you the links for the write-ups afterwards. You can see the links.
I have to say that when I was young, a long amount of years before that, I actually fall into that trap. There was a framework. I'm not going to shame them. There was a framework. I think it was my first CVE that I reported or something. So there was a framework that in the bio it says report, take this output and dump it into an issue. And as part of that dump, there was all the process and variables, and in those variables there were my AWS credentials.
Yeah, that sucks. That's exactly the case. This is it.
Very likely I had, the spend limit in place and so on. So I didn't lose money, but
but no, GitHub got luckily smarter because
now it's yes.
They catch this thing before they can really kind of like spread.
Yeah, but it not at that time. Not at that time of the year of I think it was 2016, something like that, 2015, 2016.
Yeah, no.
Close to 10 years ago at this point. So that was really bad. So yes, I was very I did that problem and it was problematic. So yes, that is the first one. So how to not handle secure secrets. So what is a secret? Typically, it's how you connect to your production database. That is a secret. Also, your keys for your cookies, your keys for your synchronous JWTs, and a bunch of stuff, all the stuff like that. And the worst thing you can do ever, is to commit them on the repo. Like, let me be clear. If you want one message from this call, is if your secrets are committed on the repository, you have a security leak that you need to address today. So to be clear, this is probably the,
But what if it's a private repo? Is that the same?
I knew you were going to say that because I wanted to say it. I was like, this. But then, so what if it's a private repo? I also get that all the time. What if it's a private repo? It's just my company, it's private repo, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes. But then tomorrow morning, what happens? You want to open source that repo. What do? You go, you clean up all the, you commit all the changes, you remove that, you open source it. Then you forget Git maintains history. It's always there.
It's even worse than that. You will not understand how bad can it be, because it's not open sourcing the repo. So there was this case where they were using a hosted database service. And in this hosted database service, and the credential for the production database service on an IP that was publicly accessible were on every developer laptop. And what happens next? One of those laptops get hacked or just leaves the company, and they keep having access to the production databases because nobody's going to rotate those keys.
No one rotates static keys like that. It's unrotatable. It's literally unmanageable if you do that. Think about it in scale, not in like an in theory, in the developer, you're building some side project. If it's more than that, it's at scale. You have so many secrets, so many services. It's unmaintainable. And so I'm actually going to riff on that, Matteo, because I like how you went even before the open sourcing it part, and like you're on the machine itself. If you're on this call right now, on this meeting, you're probably thinking, right, like, I know NPM, I know Node, etc. So think about all the stories you hear about in terms of malicious packages and malicious modules. The moment that you put stuff in your .env file or something like that, even if it's uncommitted, think about it like that, those secrets now live in your disk. And just like Matteo gave you the example of, like, offboarding employees, not done right. They still have access. They still have their laptop. Laptop gets stolen. Whatever data gets leaked. Think about it from like your own developer experience and your own developer workflows. You install npm packages. They do some weird stuff like harvest secrets and stuff like that. They read data from disk. At that point in time, they read your .env file. It's game over.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you draw the line though between environment variable versus secrets, right, and you draw it like pretty straight, there are settings which are mostly the environment variable kind of like common use, and then you have the world of secret. And I think we all have been there. That, I mean, to me, secrets means vault, the best way to secure them, save them,
like a KMS.
However, KMS suffers of its own, troubles in terms of like, speed and sometimes reliability. But imagine that. Can we agree that Vault is the most popular, right? Just to set some ground.
You mean the most popular safe option, because no one agrees with you here that it's going to be the most popular among adoption. Because they're all doing it badly, Luca. No, because we're on this problem where average developers don't do that. That's the problem. We wish they would.
But I think there is another thing. That's the reason why. No, I'm not selling Platformatic, but the reason why we started Platformatic, because we came to 2025 that this conversation shouldn't even exist. Don't you agree? Right? In 2025, we are talking about AGI, right? On one spectrum, and on the opposite, we are talking about secret and environment
vibe coding,
right? And then we talk about like intelligent coding. We talk about, and then just to kind of like bridge to your point, which I think is the point that is closer to me, coming from underground background. Now you have Trojan horse installed on any machine through the most popular marketing movement, and everyone fell into the trap, including people that we know, into, for example, Claude Desktop, right? The way to create a beautiful tunnel between your machine and a black hole, and you don't know what's happening there. Let's be very honest, right? Mm-hmm. You can run whatever you want, but I don't think many are going to run Claude Desktop on Nix into a Nix shell, right? Into an isolated Nix or a jail in BSD. They're running on Mac and Windows, right? And so I think in 2025, what we need to do, we should actually standardize once for all, to be honest, how secrets and environment variables are done. Because, the fact that our brain power is utilized to still discuss such a topic, it's, could be used for doing something, I think, cooler than talking about secrets and environment variable. I don't know. Do you wake up in the morning and say, oh, this morning, some environment variable and secrets. Oh, so cool.
So cool.
Personally not, right? I kind of like, it's kind of funny because I don't want to derail, but Matteo and I had this conversation, and we're not going to name anybody, right? We are not here to shame. We're just here to talk, right? We were chatting some time ago. We heard that Face ID is not a secret method to store your, secrets. There are better ways and so on. And it makes me sometimes laugh, this thing, right? Because I said, why do you want to reinvent the wheel when there are millions of deep holes on how you can hack system? Any system is hackable. We agree, right? There's not an unhackable system. So why go in and try to reinvent the wheel and re-talk about the secret management on your device for authentication when we have a solution that it might not be optimal, but at least it standardizes a discussion, and then we don't have all to talk about security. Like, I don't want to go. I hate, for example, we are in Platformatic, we have Chase. I promise I am not shaming Chase, but in 2025, you cannot ask me for a two-factor authentication that I cannot choose which one to use. I need to use your RSA ID tool, and when I need to migrate to a different phone, I need to spend half a day on your website to change the token. Or with all this limitation, I think just going back to the secrets point, I think what I would love actually is that we find a way to make a statement for everyone listening and say, do it in this way. Let's see it on a piece of paper, on a README, and just move on, because, you know, it's not a fun topic, to be honest. Like, it's always the same. But I love
it's funny
Vault,
that you mentioned this, because I think you're kind of like bringing a different topic to this, because there's the looking at this from the perspective of like developers and how they need to interact and like manage applications and secrets from that point of view. And there's also the consumer perspective to it, which is like, you know, me and my phone, and, you know, like you said, like, you know, banking require you like, you know, 2FA. And that actually touches on, like, think about it from like a maintainer perspective.
Correct.
As a consumer, right? So like maintainers also need to manage their like NPM credentials, which is not exactly
Correct.
for development, but for their services. And even there, we saw like a lot of like, you know, lost tokens, account compromise. So this is really hard to get right and get the DX on it right as well.
100%. But I don't know. I was chatting with Matteo, and I were chatting about how we actually were implementing it internally in Platformatic, like, just to be very practical. And we bring multiple examples and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, it's kind of funny that we have a very limited set of web frameworks that we can use. Let's agree that there are 5. I don't know how many there are, right? But then we don't have a way to standardize that particular functionality that is at the core of production systems, like you were saying. It's a very crucial thing that has such a high risk, right? So like to me, it's like, for example, I know that we don't have, Vault is not the most loved probably in this call except for me, but many organizations are using Vault, right?
Yeah.
Most likely.
We're talking about HashiCorp Vault, yes?
HashiCorp Vault, yeah. And
okay.
I mean, how many times have you been in the call or in they ask a question how to use it?
I don't remember, but yeah, I see.
How do I store data? And then how do I actually migrate my secrets? Shall I migrate my secrets from development to production? What shall I move? How shall I do? So I think you know, and Theo, do you remember like a few weeks ago when we were visiting a customer and we were talking about that, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it was an experience. Okay. They generically saying, and to be honest, it wasn't that bad. Okay. Like I've seen way worse. I've seen I've seen environment variables bolted on, but they were using something that I would call not so safe solutions to manage their security. It's not the worst possible case, I said, secrets on the repo, but still not great. Still not great solutions on that side of things. Okay, which is, as I said, problematic. Like the only real solution is to use something like Vault or KMS or whatever with a secret zero system, so that, you know, each machine is already identified. The infra provide this to you, and that you can use that system, that key that is provided by the infra, to get the secrets that you need. And those secrets are stays only in memory inside your app, so that is not in an environment variable, is not in a Kubernetes pod description. Okay, sorry about this. This is
in the README of the repo.
It's in the but you know that everybody does that, right? You know, are you aware?
I'm not aware that everybody does that. No, that's terrifying.
Everybody does that. Okay, which is still better than, you know, putting them on disk. Okay, that is a different topic. Okay, but not great either. Okay. And yeah, I don't know. On that
but
topic,
so how do we freaking then manage these secrets, guys? Tell me the secret, because now I want to know. So I'm a developer and I'm working in an enterprise organization, right? and I needed to implement a secret solution. Where would you start? What would you do? Tell me the secret.
Yeah. So I think let's simplify it first. So if you're regular developer, okay, regular, I mean like indie dev, side project, different stuff, which I get this all the time. If you want to put secrets in your environment variables, you deploy to the Vercels, the Netlify, whatever, all of those things, like fine, do it. Like it's your convenience. There's no like business loss, no financial loss. Worst case, you pay, I don't know, $500 on API usage or something. That's your risk, right? You can like manage that risk. You need to be aware of it.
Consider that those key can be leaked. So
exactly, yeah, right.
Put spending limits on each one of those, so that set up a backup for your database, so that you have rolling backups. So somebody came in, wipe your database, you have you know what happened, and so on. You can you can control the things. Okay, because frankly, a lot of indie apps are security nightmare on all intended purposes. So.
No, 100%. All this vibe coding stuff too, with cursor and stuff like that. Have you? Okay, let's talk about this. Let's open it. Have you seen, Matteo, the Peter Levels thing? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Okay, it's absolutely amazing. Okay, what he is a genius. What he has done in a month is fantastic. Okay, he's a great.
And the
marketer.
Security issues that was found.
It's a yes, but again, it's absolutely normal. Okay, if you develop things with some level of process, those things are caught. If like the code, if you look at the code that the AI generates, when generic stuff, as the moment it gets a little bit hard, if you ask them to write a function that given chew and chew as inputs return 4, it will do if x equals chew and y equals chew return 4. Okay, it will solve the problem like that. So it's pretty if pointed to the question of where where are my secrets going to be? Oh, I'm putting them in my client bundle. Okay, and be happy, merrily happy doing so. So it's literally, it can make these mistakes very easily, at least right now, the current generation.
Yes.
But overall, frankly, is that system, what he has done is great, but nothing like security is serious business. Okay, and so far, it's a very specific skill set that AIs have not reached the capability to self-diagnose and write secure code. Okay, but who knows in the future? I have doubts, but I'm also using these things. So it's they are useful for some stuff. Just I don't know. I would not write super sensitive things with it.
Yeah, so definitely, if you like scroll, Twitter, X, whatever, a bit, you'll see a lot of this. I mean, Peter is one example. There's others who like vibe coded and then like figured out that they have deployed, just like actually the example that Matteo gave, like deployed a Firebase, secrets. There's like a client facing, like a public facing secret for Firebase, but there's like a private one as well, and they've kind of like leaked those out under like front end. And there's like a bunch of stuff and where they kind of like after they build a game, they build something, they push it out there, they push their vibe coded SaaS, and they figure out that they're getting attacked, or like usage count is like max and stuff like that. So I think we're coming to this and saying, if you want to make things simple and you want to put secrets in variables, like fine, as long as you understand the risk, you understand this is like not the professional way of doing this, like the responsible way of doing this, and it does not scale from like a software development management capability. It does not scale. This is not the right thing to do. As if it's if you've coded some weekend project, side project, all of those stuff, fine, do this. I will not tell you not to do this and shame you. If you, however, want to do this in a proper way, okay, if you're like working within a team, there's an enterprise and stuff like that, here are some reasons. So first off, I would say you have to understand like this principle of like a separation of concerns. It also applies to secrets and what's not a secret. You put in generally, if you want to use environment variables, which I also like, somewhat, I feel very detached about it from the other perspective, which is like maintainable code. But if you want to use that, then that is, you put stuff there that's not secrets. Like the environment variables is literally like a storage place that process gets on a Unix system, for example, or some other systems. It's not a safe storage place. So secrets should not be there, should not live there. That's one. Now you could take it further out and figure out like, okay, so if I don't put it there, where do I put it? So some examples, and I'll give actually some first off examples that you could use that actually in the devs, I think, even if you're building like side projects, you should also follow, like I follow this. So one example is I will put not exactly a secret, but a reference to a secret using something like 1Password, because I use it. I use that to share like, secrets and stuff with my team. So I will use that, and I will use that again, not yet enterprise ready. This is like where at least start off safely.
Yeah.
And so I would put a reference there, right? So if I'm using .env file and I have some environment variables there, very common, that's okay. Put a reference to something that's a secret, not the secret itself. And when you start off the app, this is kind of like where it asks you to authenticate to the 1Pass. And if you go beyond 1Pass, which is maybe your local store, I mean, there's some integrations with like cloud deployments and stuff like that, but you could use other solutions like in Physical and many others who basically give you that same experience. Actually in Physical, I'm actually using them as a user when I deploy one of my projects to Vercel, and they give me this secrets management. So when I'm locally running, if Physical is there, I just prefix my node, server.js or something within Physical. It reads all the data it needs in a safe way. It authenticates me. The data is not stored anywhere except for their, data store, and that is passed to the environment itself. When the app then deploys to Vercel, I do not need specifically myself to go into the Vercel interface and update the environment variables. In Physical, syncs the data there as well. So I do not need to worry about this either. Again, this is just like this is like secure phase one. This is not what I would say do professionally.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I will stop here and see if there's any questions before maybe we move on.
No, I think I love your angle, right? Because you just said even as an indie, you are trying to kind of like de-risk yourself first and say, hey, I just synchronized, I use in Physical, I just don't want to manage by hand because the risk that I forget is way too high. And another kind of like interesting angle that you're bringing, and I'm a big fan of 1Password.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Well, I think it's the best solution for password management. I don't know who is the crazy guy that puts passwords into Google or Apple. I would never do that. But I kind of like with 1Password, you can actually share that security link. You can, the way, for example, also two-factor authentication is handled. I think it's pretty interesting, the model that 1Password took against others. So I think those 2 points we should definitely kind of like put in our summary, because I believe that those should be statements that we put there and say, if you're an indie, at least use that. You're in a good spot. But I'm curious about the enterprise, right? The place where the risk is so high and where the mistakes are usually made.
Okay, so I think this is where I would go and now like converge this discussion to talk about where secrets and configuration, you need to separate it, but also like think about it from like a maintainable code perspective. So let's talk about what's wrong with environment variables first, and the way that developers use environment variables, because that will lead us to the secrets part. And I don't know, maybe Matteo has some ideas, but I'll start off with mine. So first off, there's this pattern where developers do in their application logic, they do some stuff like if process.env.node.env equals staging or dev or whatever. Every time I see this, I go crying. Oh, you see, Matteo, he's going. You see why? Exactly for the same reason.
It happens all the time. That is the number one mistake. But
it's there since the beginning, right, guys? I mean,
yes. I did a long talk on this. Actually, it will go into the minutes, but I did a long talk. Node.env is a lie. So you should not be, if you rely on Node, like Node.env, the moment it leaves your machine, needs to be set to production. If it's not set to production, you're going to have big trouble, big problems. So this is another big takeaway that you can have. Node.env set to production all the time. But what is staging environment? Is Node.env is set to production on staging environment. That's fine. That Node.env does not mean environment, despite the name.
That's why, to be honest, sorry, Liran, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No.
one thing that is kind of very important that you and I, Matteo, tell every week, every day, every second that we interact, Node, it's a great tool, easy to learn, easy to onboard, insanely hard to scale beyond your local machine. That's the truth. Has been designed to build, to be, Sinatra competitor, right? It was facing the world of websites. And I think, and I take full responsibility in what I'm saying, I think the work that Node has been doing past the great first revolution has been phenomenal in trying to basically kind of like a patch without destroying, but also create awareness in all the consumer and say, guys, we tell you, somebody created day zero, you can pick, you live with that or we break. And nobody wants to break. So you need to live with that and learn how to do it. But the mea culpa should be done back at the main design when the initial kind of like concept was not, I don't think was honest. And I was there at the version like easy at the inception. And I saw it in Yammer, being one of the first big users. The premises were not there to build enterprise software. They were there to build your Liran personal website, Luca website, Matteo website, and then it evolved into something way bigger than the spec. But like Node.env is legacy that,
yeah,
I don't know, Matteo, a prediction. When are you guys going to fix it once forever?
Oh, it's not fixed. It's not part of Node.
Oh, okay.
So it's literally, so the biggest offender today are Express and React.
Tooling that basically builds on this notion.
Yeah, and then all their ecosystem.
Yeah.
So there's literally like, and they are impossible to, like, they have essentially won the market, okay? And so it's unfixable, okay? It's there. The only thing you need to deal with in Node.env is stick it as Node.env equals production, and you are good, okay? You can forget about it, okay? And then you have another mechanism to select the environment, or even better, for each feature of your application, you turn it on and off based on environment variables, yes, but not a generic one, okay? You just select, okay, I want this thing happening or not, and this is controlled by environment variables. It's great, but do it that way.
So feature flagging, just to make it simple for
via environment variables, yes. Via feature flagging via environment variables is great, and it works very well. So you can do that, absolutely, 100%. So if you do that, then you're good. It works for you. It works for me. So like another example is, I want a pretty logger in development or a machine processable logging in production. Okay. Now the way to fix this, and this is something that I make an example all the time, is okay, you detect that so instead of putting a check on node underscore env equals production, okay, or equals development, okay, you do a check. You can do a check and verify if reading that log statements there is a human being or not. How do you do that? You can check if the outbound stream is a TTY or not. If it's not a TTY, it's a file. It's another process, another thing. So you don't need to. You don't need to generate it a nice one. You need to generate machine readable ones, and you can detect it in that way.
That's a very elegant way, by the way.
Yes. But you need to apply in the brain to know what you want to do and not follow that tutorial from 2015. Okay.
Also, guess what happens when you ask the LLM to generate something that will log based on that? It will probably be trained on many code bases. Yeah. Exactly, on many code bases and tutorials and whatever it saw that says node env, etc., and not this way, right? Like this is the problem.
Exactly. Oh, it's so good.
So it's so damn good. Someone asked why Express, and I want to give you that example. So Express, I think maybe fixed now. I'm not following that much. I know Ulysses and the team, they're like trying to do good stuff around it, but I'm not versed if that was fixed or not. But the original problem here, Matteo was referring to, is Express used to have this this issue where if you would not enable node env production, so the node env dev experience would be not optimizing stuff, not caching data, so like not performance oriented. If there are error or exceptions, it will actually give you like a rich error with a stack trace. You can get the idea of like where this is going, then maybe outputting and leaking your environment variables and all of this kind of stuff. So people who were not aware of like, enabling or forcing node env production would suffer those. And now imagine that you're like deploying to dev or I don't know, some beta environment that are customer facing or some kind of public facing still. People would be able potentially to trigger those edge cases to get like, stack traces and get data out of your systems. So this is why originally this was, also called out as like not really good practice.
It's great. So yeah, that's well, it's not fixed. It's still there. Express is alive now, so we are very grateful to the team. They're trying to modernize and fix all of those long-term problems. We'll see where with new releases, as the new releases come out. It's pretty great. It's pretty great to see. So cool.
A little bit of nostalgia there.
Yeah, I have one question to Liran, okay? Yeah. And something also for the audience and so on, okay? So what happens? So one of the biggest problem and biggest question that a lot of people ask me when talking about this topic is, but if I'm talking to Vault, okay, do I
still need a token?
I still need a token to talk to Vault, so that's a secret. So how do I get the secret to get the secrets?
I knew this would come up too.
It happens all the time. Or on AWS, it's the same concept. Okay, how do I get the credentials to talk to the KMS?
Sorry guys, maybe just like to explain, all secure system for secret management, they work with a double handshake, right? So you give either a key and this key opens the vault, and then the vault can give you access to the secret, right? So just to explain why there is the problem of the token to open the vault.
Yeah, I'll try to explain this from several perspectives, just like we're aligning here first. So first off, I will tell you a small story. Think about it and remember this for my next explanation. In I think 1984, there was a Turing Award that was awarded on this concept of trusting trust, where you have to kind of like put trust somewhere. So the original story evolved with someone. If I send you like an NPM package, you have to trust to tell you to download it and install it. You have to trust someone, right? You trust me, and then you have a next layer. You trust the dependencies that I give, and then you trust that the NPM is not malicious or wasn't like a backdoor to give you something else. You trust the network, and so on and so on. So you have to trust something in your laptops. You have to trust that there's no chip, there's no keylogger attached to whatever you bought it, right? You can see where I'm going with this, right? There's going to be trust all the way, and you have to assign it somewhere. Okay, now this story, let's put it aside and talk to this problem that Matteo was saying. This is kind of like another concept is like secrets are often, especially in this context of, not encryption and decryption, but really secrets management, they kind of like have this notion of turtles all the way down, meaning that, I can put something in Vault, but then I need some way to access the Vault. So how does the Vault know that I am the right person? So you hear people telling you, yeah, sure, give it a secret. And then you're like, okay, but now this secret can get compromised, and so on and so on. It doesn't end, right? So Matteo is freaking out in a good way. So here's the thing. There's this. So this is not a new concept, of course, and it's often people refer to that from the secrets management perspective as the secret zero problem, meaning that yes, you need a secret, you need some way to identify. And this is before we kind of like make the jump to what's the term for that? The identity authorization thing. We'll get to it in a sec. But even before we jump to that, there's this secret zero problem, which means essentially that, yes, you need a way to authenticate. You need one secret to authenticate, but you do it in two ways that are essentially important. First off, that secret is granted to your platform, whatever that is, Node or something else, in a way that you trust the orchestration that runs it, just like you trust that your Kubernetes or whatever runs your application, and you can go and say the same thing. How can someone not change the behavior of my Kubernetes to spawn up like 50,000 instances and kill all my resources and not one? Because you trust the environment, you trust your orchestration, you trust your operational environment. In the same way, you trust it to feed a secret to your Platformatic, for example, that you run it up, and then that secret is safe. This is one case to it. The other stage to it that is important is that secret, if you manage it correctly, it has another property or several, but they are derived out of this natural thing that is basically it is one time and it has a short time to live. So where I'm getting you to, and this is Luca, kind of like my answer to how do you do enterprise level secrets management? This is it. You operationalize your services in a way where they spawn, they get a secret. That secret is only usable once. Once you use it, it expires. The moment expires, and it has a short time to live. You cannot use it like in 20 minutes, 1 hour into the node process. So if it gets leaked after the app is up for like 5 days or whatever, if it's like some long running process, it won't be used for anything. It's dead already. And at that point, when your app is booting up, this is where you now use these secrets at the bootstrap to ask for the actual secrets. Okay. Now it has several advantages. First off, you take the secrets, and like Matteo said, you put them into memory. They're now part of the app itself. They're not going to get leaked through process N. They're not going to get leaked because they're stalled somewhere on the disk files or whatever. So if you have a path reversal vulnerability, no one can access those secrets. That's one of it. The other reason is you can now rotate the secrets and have no impact on the application itself. You can also rotate that secret that was given to the app as the secret zero problem. So all of this is manageable in some way. Is it perfect? It's what it is, and it's as close as we can get to giving you enough trust and I would say kind of like maintainability to really manage secrets at scale.
But I think you actually touched a very important point, right? That we actually kind of like talk so many about zero trust applications, right? In the modern cloud era. But what you're just saying is that not the exception. You need to trust your secret zero system, right? So if you are running on, for example, Kubernetes, you need to know that your Kubernetes somehow is a separate agent in the separation of concerns. Where imagine when you go to the caveau of the vault of any bank, there are two keys: the bank key and your key. And that's what you're just saying. You say you need to trust your bank is anyhow where you're going to put the stuff, and then you have your key to open your security deposit box for your stuff. And that's basically the concept in real life of vault against your secret zero agent that can be Kubernetes, the cloud, can be anything, but you need to have a starting point that you trust. But what you are saying is that, correct me if I'm wrong, the policy you need to apply short living keys that they continuously rotate and expire, and that's a way to keep all these mechanisms safe by design, by having like an auto destroy policy continue, so that basically this provision of keys is not something that can be leaked or can be stale in your machine, on your whatever application.
And that's in. So just to explain, like this isn't some made up concept. This is like built into the way that Vault and in physical and other services work. Like this is the way that they solve it. And if you're worried about, because you mentioned zero trust, so if you're more worried about like, well, how can my Kubernetes or some other orchestration system that you have like access the secret securely, or like how does it know it? So this is where this like cloud IAM comes in, right?
Exactly.
Like you trust that system that already has like gained the trust, and that system through IAM request, for example, that secret to begin with to deploy your application.
Yeah, and for example, just for give an example, in AWS, you'd use an STS assume versus the resource, and you trust that your IAM handles securely that. But you come to a point where what you're just saying, you cannot go deeper than believing in this trust and say, okay, if you cannot even trust your cloud, then why you're there? You need to trust that there is a primitive that is going to be the zero point for everything.
So I have a question for after all of these things. So there is a page in the Kubernetes documentation called Kubernetes Secret. Did you know that Kubernetes has a secret, some secret management solution? Okay.
Yeah,
I know it exists. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you use it?
I don't know. It depends. I haven't used it, never, so I don't know to
Okay.
say
So
that
okay.
from experience.
I mean, I say no, not because I distrust it. It's just because because I think that when you're trying to do a million things, for sure you're gonna do 999,000 in a bad way.
You're not gonna get it all right.
No, and Kubernetes, to be honest with you, is a different topic. Out of the 20 things that it should do, only one is done correctly. The other one, like, honestly, like, I don't even know why and who made them, because yeah, like, I don't want to go into the autoscaler, but the autoscaler is, I mean, when you build an orchestration system and then the autoscaler is slowest, then if I go by hand and provision it, then probably there is something wrong. Yeah, no, but I'm not joking. The autoscaler has the responsiveness of, I don't know, a broken circuit. Like, I want to make a joke. Has the same responsiveness and reliability as Bluetooth 1.0. You remember your
let's use PM2.
PM2, I'm not going to go into. I mean, PM2, it was great like 20 years ago. Oops. Node was not existing, but it was actually great like so long ago in the beginning. And for people that were lazy to just learn how to use systemd.
I mean, it works for people also where they like provisioned bare bones systems. So that was like a good way for them to just do it before orchestration was a thing.
Yeah, systemd, once again, is there. It works. It's an operating system. I mean, I'm not telling you to use that thing that Apple built to clone systemd. Okay. That is, I mean, only God knows when it works and when it doesn't. I'm not telling you to use cron. It's one of the major secrets that we have in life. Nobody knows how cron. Cron is something that you really hope it works. If it doesn't, there is no way to
you open an issue on the Linux kernel GitHub repository.
Yeah, and then, but I was running recently a cron job for my Mac because clearly their native didn't fulfill what I needed. But again, permissions. But something was not working. And I said, okay, but it's not in the error log. It's not in the application log. Where is that? Where are you them writing it in this moment? And so I decided that the best thing to do was to just like format my Mac because I couldn't get rid of that cron job. So I format the Mac and that's it. I just do it by hand every day. So every day in the morning when I wake up, I just do something because I trust my memory more than cron at this point. I know that we are running kind of longer than expected. Is there any question? Because I'm very selfish. I need to drop in a minute. But you guys can stay here all day if you want, because
so there was a question. There was a question flowing. Let me get that. A question regarding Nest.js, I think. Let me get it. Is Nest.js a good framework from a security point of view?
I don't know. I definitely haven't personally used it or to any extent audited it, so I can't give you that. I can tell you, though, I had actually recently a conversation on TypeScript security, and we flew to talk on a Nest.js code base where it was kind of confusing. So here's the example. It's not related to secrets or anything. It's just a very kind of point of view here. So in the context of a really good system that has like a typing mechanism that allows you to put schema over requests and stuff like that, which you should have in place, I found out from a real world application someone shared with me that with Nest it's not very obvious, and some of I don't know if to call them junior developers, but definitely some of the developers on the team did not realize that the annotation they put on some of the classes were just not actually used for the request itself, but for something else, like a TypeScript kind of typing schema, not for the actual request or the data that comes in. And from that perspective, it was very confusing to them. So I guess my point is, with something like Nest, you're going to have a lot of abstraction layers or layers of abstraction. And that, if you don't really know what exactly is going on or what something does and how it works, then you could fall into these many fallacies where you're not really, you're kind of thinking that you're doing something right, but not really, unless you can know the exact way that it works.
A mystery box.
Abstractions.
You know what? When I was a kid, Matteo, do you remember le buste that you buy in the newspaper stand? In Italy, we have these envelopes that they contain toys and everything, right? And as kid, our parents or grandparents would take us to the newspaper stand and buy us just to keep us busy, to be honest. And you open it, it was for us was I don't know, Theo, did you? For me,
surprise, because you didn't know what was in there. Okay,
and one day I remember I really wanted that envelope, right? It was big, and I said they promised there were cars, they were monsters, and I was that's what I want, right? So finally I got it. I remember opening it, and inside there was not what I was expecting. That's next to me.
It's Nest.
Nest, sorry. For me, it's Nest.
Well,
also next. Also next.
Matteo was about to.
It's the same, right?
It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Anyhow, same but different.
It's a different discussion to be had there. Cool, guys.
We should have an event. We should have a talk then about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. Okay. So I think we are at about time. So I am very much thanking Liran. I think we have kind of exhausted this big topic. Okay. Hopefully we made Node.js a little bit more secure. Now you should not put your files, your security things, your secrets in your repositories. Okay. There is one module called config, which is probably the biggest offender that promote that pattern. So if you're using that module, you are likely committing those things on disk. Don't do that. Okay. So this is the first one. Okay. But apart from that, I have a couple of things to remind you guys. So first of all, we are running a small Node.js in production, and we call it Node and Conquer mini-conf in Paris in a month, in a few weeks. Okay, it's on the 4th or 5th. Luca,
5th is on April 5th.
April
at the
5th.
Sanofi office. Thanks to Sanofi for keeping us healthy and giving us space. And but don't forget to actually tell that you are speaking at .js.
I'm speaking at .js the day before, talking about
memory
leaks.
I think.
Oh, I'm muted?
Oh, no, maybe it's mine.
It's you. Speaking about memory leaks, okay, and memory handling in Node. So it's pretty fun one, okay. And then before that, there is the Collab Summit in Paris. So we'll be in Paris the whole week. So if you want to chat, you can message me. If you are in Paris, happy to chat. If you are around.
It's April 4th, Matteo.
I told you it was April 4th.
Well, when you fly international, time becomes a little bit relative.
Yeah, I know. Don't tell me. Yeah, I am aware.
I mean, somebody won a Nobel Prize for that. We're just honoring it.
Yay! So, yeah. So we have that. Okay. And yeah, April 4th is April 4th at the Sanofi office. And you can just register to join. So very happily to give a talk and talk about Node.js in production there. Then
you just need to be in Paris.
you just need to be in Paris. Yes. Luca, would you like to say a couple of things about our gracious host and sponsor of this production, Platformatic?
Yeah, if you don't use it, you should.
What's this Platformatic thing, Luca? Can you tell me? I heard about it.
Platformatic is the standard you should use.
It's more. What will it do?
Platformatic, it's an open source toolkit that saves you from boring tasks like building an API from a database, connecting to a service and building a client, having documentation automatically built for your service, to the first and only application server for Node.js, which allows you to have out-of-the-box feature like traceability, observability, logging, multi-threading, and it can host your Next.js application on-prem, saving you an unknown bill from a very famous cloud provider that also builds Next framework. Depending if you want to donate money to them or you want to save them and run it on your on-prem at the max speed. And we are also building a commercial tool that allows company in production to run Node.js at scale in Kubernetes, having incredible features like an intelligent autoscaler that really works, distributed caching management that really works, and new features that we're going to launch in the next few weeks and a couple of months. Stay tuned. What to say?
All my dreams coming true.
Yes.
Many people's dreams are coming true, and we are here for that. We are here to give you that surprise box that contains the toys that you always dreamt of. And with that, guys, I want to say thank you, Liran, once again to be here. Hope to see you in real life again. Thank you, everyone, for being on this episode. Until next week, because, guys, same time, same place, almost same people. We have surprises for you. Stay tuned.
Bye,
Ciao,
guys.
everyone. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.